The game kind of like reveals itself to you in the sense that like, oh, these are things that you can improve on and they're within your grasp. And every time you make a mistake, it like kind of reveals itself. You're like, oh, you're still not there.
This is easy.
Greetings and salutations, my fellow Illumineers. It is me, your boy JDZ, and I'm back at you again with another Lorcana video. And today I have a super ultra treat, a player that you definitely know already, but you probably don't know as well as you should. What if I told you that I have the very best player in Disney Lorcana in the building with me right now, the captain of Team America, DLC Las Vegas winner, world-class cards finest. I have none other. You know him, you love him, Mr. Zan Syed in the building. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. If I could blush, I would. If it were possible for me to blush, I'd be blushing right now, champ. And I gotta say, oh my goodness, I'm such a fan. Thank you so much for dropping by and sharing some of your time with me and with the Quest world out here. But for people that don't know you, I want to make this video about you to get to know who you are and how you got to the point that you are currently right now, as you're widely touted as the #1 player in Disney Lorcana. So please take a little bit of time to introduce yourself.
I'm Zan Syed. I won DLC Vegas, got third at Continentals, and I'm going to be playing in Worlds. I started off with Magic the Gathering. I did play a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh when I was a kid, but my real professional journey started with Magic the Gathering. And so in undergrad, I played Magic with my roommates. I ended up beating them, and then they were like, "You should go play at the local shop." I won the local level. Then they were like, "You should play in the state level." I won the state level. Fast forward, I ended up playing on like the Pro Tour and was Player of the Year in 2019. And then the pandemic hit, and so that career went. And so when Lorcana came about, I was like, this seems like a better Magic. Let me check it out, and that was set one.
So that was just a seamless transition. And you said something interesting. You said a better Magic. What are your thoughts on Disney Lorcana? A lot of people may not like the full game mechanic of it. They don't like the way the game spread out. Maybe certain things they don't like, and there's certain aspects about Magic that people don't like. Ideally, the mana system and being mana screwed and all those types of things. Can you just talk about some of your compare and contrast and what makes you think that Disney Lorcana is a better version of Magic the Gathering?
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of similarities. The mana system is definitely different, but I think that in order for Lorcana to have come into existence, Magic needed to be there. There was a lot of mistakes that we learned from Magic, like the mana system. I think that the biggest distinction is every card that you draw in Lorcana is a live card. And so you're always in the game. There's not very many games where you didn't have any chance to win. There's so many more decisions you make in this game as compared to any TCG. And so I feel like I could play this game forever just because I feel like I'm learning something new about myself every time I play.
Usually, as a player like you who plays a lot of control style decks, a lot of complex decks, typically you give yourself a lot of decisions to be made. And the more decisions you have to make, that's going to create some type of advantageous position for the player with the most skill. More decisions equal more skill expression. So I do understand that. But talk about your competitive performance. You said you got your DLC win, which is a huge major milestone. Not a lot of players can do that in the first year. Can you just talk about an overall recap from your DLC experience for people who may not have gone to a DLC, some of the highs, some of the lows, some of the things you learned from each one, and how did your DLC experience go since you went to the very first one and you went to the very last one of the season?
I didn't initially plan on attending all the DLCs. The first one happened to be in my hometown of Atlanta, and so I played in that one, and I played Amber Steel Songs. This is set 3, and I ended up top fouring that one. So I got my first golden Mickey at my first rodeo. And then I started thinking, okay, if I were to attend 6 of these, the total, how many of them could I day 2? How many of them could I make a run for another Mickey? And so I calculated that if I play in all 6, that I would day 2 4 out of 6, and that I would have a solid chance at getting 2 more Mickeys. And so I ended up attending all 6. I ended up top 64ing 4 of them, and then I ended up winning Vegas. Ended up getting my second Mickey by winning Vegas, and then I ended up getting my third Mickey after all the DLCs were over in Continentals.
Nice, man. That is some crazy consistency. Do you still have the Mickeys? Did you move those? Do you still have them in your possession? Are they graded? Are they sitting on the wall? Where are the Mickeys right now?
So the first one I went and sold it at Golden Auctions. And that one was like kind of the first time like building connections, because I think that playing the game and then figuring out how to sell the cards is a completely opposite skill set. So yeah, so that was a bit of a journey. I went and got that one graded with PSA, and I got a 10 on that one. Was able to sell that one. I think the final price tag was $15,744, something like that. And then the second one I ended up keeping because that one is number 14. So I told myself if I got one with like the lower numbers, because the golden Mickeys are out of 500,
Mm-hmm.
that I would just keep one. So I have that one still in my possession, not graded. I haven't even taken it out of the hard sleeve that I received it in. And then the third one, which I won at Continentals, I sold that one immediately. I sold basically all the cards I won as a bundle for like 32,000.
Jeez, man. Oh my goodness. So true to life professional player. But having 3 golden Mickeys in one season just seems impossible to me as a player. I just don't see how someone can do that. And that just speaks to your consistency. So that is a question that I just got to know. I got to ask you, and I ask all the players that I bring by here on the program. I got to know your consistency. What is it that makes you able to survive through all these different metas, all these different deck changes, all these different card pools that come out, to be able to consistently make day 2 and show up to these tournaments and have these long runs, these arduous days? Is it your focus? Is your preparation? What are some key takeaways that you think that you can share that puts you in this position?
The first thing is I played professional Magic where there was a lot less capital to be won. And when I played professional Magic, I made my own professional team and we lived in a house together. I moved out to North Carolina and I was there for like a year and a half. When you go to a tournament, you're doing it as a hobby. But in that situation, I was doing it for my livelihood and being able to eat. And when you put those type of pressures on a person, then the result become different and your preparation becomes different. Like you wake up, you eat, you're eating cereal, you're talking Magic or just card games in general, right? Because the philosophy that like the deck building philosophy that I gained from Magic, what translated into Lorcana. And honestly, I was very fortunate and lucky that situation occurred, because I was done with Magic. And then this magical game Disney Lorcana came about, and those skills just translated.
So it's all about the grind. So you're just built different. You've been grinding this whole time, and now the grind has translated over. But now you seem like it's a different game. You seem like you're in a much more comfortable place. How do you maintain that level of motivation to play at such a high level? Like, is there just fear of failure? Is there like, hey, I got to prove myself every day? Who are you competing against? Because you're at the top. You're at the top now, and it's easier, in my opinion, it's easier to get to the top than it is to stay at the top. So what is your motivation to keep going now that you have gotten it all? Why not just say, hey, I'm done and just let it rock?
Well, I don't view myself as the best player, but I also don't put anybody above myself. I mean, I like to compete against myself. I think that's the best way to put it. The game kind of like reveals itself to you in the sense that like, oh, these are things that you can improve on and they're within your grasp. And every time you make a mistake, it like kind of reveals itself. You're like, oh, you're still not there. And so I feel like every time I play the game, I'm having those revelations, and I do feel like I'm not the best version I can possibly be. And so if I know that, and I'm just like trying to get better every single day, the sky's the limit, And I think of like the rewards that I've been able to achieve so far as like a secondary thing, right? Like if my goal is to continuously get better and just try to play my best from those lessons, then the reward is secondary. Oftentimes I do coaching, and a common occurrence is like I don't have the rewards that you've been able. That's secondary. That will just come naturally. Once you just love just improving at the game, everything else will fall in place.
Right. Okay. So the grind is the way of life, and the reward is the byproduct of the grind. Once you have the passion and you keep going, the victories and rewards will come in. So that's something to take away. If you guys are watching this, man, you guys need to really pay attention to get into the mindset of a champion, because I can't see it that way. I think maybe I get too lazy, or I'll start withering on the vine if I don't have that next goal to achieve. I guess that might be that's the mindset that you need to get in a position like yourself. And we're going to change gears a little bit, and we'll talk about the meta and also cracking the meta in general. Right now, we're in this set 7. We've just made it to arcade Asia's Island, and the game has changed. There's been some very powerful cards that have been released, and you have kind of figured out a way to crack the meta again. I'm going to pull up this deck list that you've kind of been working on. This is coming in from the LCC Team America versus Team Europe. You are the captain of Team America, and you're playing the Sapphire Steel strategy. For you at home that are viewing, I'm going to do a little backstory on this deck, and you can correct me if I'm wrong if I mess this up at all, but this deck came to fruition. You posted a tweet, and I'll post that tweet here, and it got a lot of feedback from the community. A lot of haters came out, and you said, hey, I went 50-0 with this deck, and I'm going to take it to this tournament, and you guys can see it right here. If you want to be like me, here's the code. Immediately I bought the Metafy because I had to see it. I mean, 50-0 is 50-0. I mean, come on, I can't not see that. And I checked it out, and I saw Oswald. I was like, Zan's trolling. There's no way he's trolling. This can't be real. And everyone's like, no, there's no way this is real. And sure enough, you took this list down to a pretty sizable tournament. You and your constituent, your good friend of yours, Jeremy, both loaded this deck, and you guys could have almost had a mirror match in the finals. You guys ran right through that tournament. So I'm thinking you guys found a way to crack the meta again. Can you just talk about that process of doing that, identifying these cards, what's good, what's bad, what the meta is going to be, and then being 2 steps ahead?
Yeah. So the number one thing I'll take away is learning about Oswald actually happened in set 6.
Mm-hmm.
So Oswald was spoiled, and that was a set that we were all preparing for Continentals. A lot of people were preparing for Continentals, and that was your path to World. And so we had to go hard on set 6. So everybody tested Oswald, and I made my opinions on Oswald. My opinion was Oswald is a great card, just not good enough yet. Everybody else's opinion was similar. It was Oswald is not good, but Oswald will never be good. And so there's a huge distinction where I now put it in my back pocket, and literally the first hour, all the cards were spoiled for set 7. I was like, okay, we're playing Oswald. So the list that you ended up seeing is, like I had 56 out of the 60 cards put in place within the first hour of the whole set being spoiled. And then after a week of testing all of those like smaller cards, I came to the perfect week 0 deck, which was what we end up seeing, which is the list. And we actually had one other friend, and after like round 5, so going into round 6, we were Jeremy, myself, and this other friend Ryan were all first, second, and third. Insane. All undefeated.
Insane.
And then Jeremy and Ryan got paired against each other, and they drew. And then I got an unintentional draw on camera because there was like no clock in the room that we were playing in.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't tell what time. It was like a casino. We were like, what time is it? Then I got paired against Jeremy. Jeremy gave me the win in second to last round.
Mm-hmm.
And then he won his win-in. And then our other friend lost 2 back-to-back win-ins. But basically, it was like a situation where we just kept getting paired against each other. And then Jeremy and I got paired against each other in top 4. And I gave him the win. And I was like, just bring it home. Because I felt like his Oswalds were hitting more. And I was like, the point is this deck just wins.
Yeah.
Bring it home.
And it was another tournament that happened down the Hunt and Burnt Memorial down in Texas. I know you were there. And then you had Lorcana Bro was there.
Basically, we tested together. And I'm like in the Metafy, I'm posting version 2 or version 3. Right. And so I'm talking to him. I'm like, hey, we're going to put queens into the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So we put this 3-drop queen. And then Lorcana Bro and I both played the exact 60. And then he made it to the finals. I lost my win-in to the mirror match. So it was kind of brutal. But it is what it is. As long as the deck wins the tournament, I'm pretty happy. He made it to the finals. It was a weird situation where he was first seed going into the last round, and he drew with the opponent, and they flipped.
No.
So he became second seed, and that person became first seed. Yeah. And then they played in the finals, and he didn't have a turn 1 bell, game 1, 2, or 3.
No.
And as long as he had it once, he would have easily won the match. But second is close enough.
Variance is going to be always undefeated, and that's just going to be one of those things. That's the bottom line, man. That just sucks. And if you don't know at home, in Lorcana, in most tournaments, I'm sure that's how I win this tournament. Whoever has the highest seed in Swiss gets to go first in the top cut of the event, and that's just a huge advantageous position. So drawing and then flipping feels miserable, and that's how it's going to go sometimes, but you can't do anything. But still, taking nothing away, I just want to point to the fact that you brought this deck out. A lot of people didn't agree, even with your credentials and everything everything you've done and all the things you've learned and all the stuff, people still had detractors and naysayers and doubters, and you have to constantly have to prove it. So this is a Sapphire Steel strategy. For those that know you, they know you kind of pioneered the Emerald Steel strategy. So you were able to switch it up for this set. What caused that switch? Are these cards just too broken? Is Emerald Steel just not broken enough anymore? Or do you feel, and another thing I want to ask, two-part question, do you feel like that loyalty to the color group? I know a lot of people who are loyal to their colors and not switching. You were able to navigate and just say, I'm gonna drop this and pick this up. What fueled that change?
Well, I have no allegiance to any color. My first top four was with Amber Steel, and then I proceeded to top 64 with purple red. Like I'll play anything that I believe is the best deck, right? I'm always trying to look for the deck that like cut through the meta like butter, and so I think that the most powerful cards that were printed were aligned with the Sapphire strategy, and then it was just about identifying what the second color was. For me, early on, it was between Ruby and Steel, and so I ended up choosing Steel based off of the song package of Let the Storm Rage On and Strength of a Raging Fire and Fortisphere. Those were the main drawing elements, and those work really well with Bell. And my goal kind of is to, at the beginning of the format, to try and be the one who sets the stage and sets the meta. Because if you're the person who's setting the meta, then your thought process is, okay, how do I answer what I did last week and how people are going to be thinking about that, rather than chasing. And I think being ahead is always
hopefully you guys can piece that together. Be out front. It's tough. I don't know. That's probably why you're in the position that you're in, is because that's a very difficult thing to do, to just stay ahead, stay out front. It's just so much happening, so many things switching. Are there some spots that you think, some vulnerabilities that you have noticed in this set 7 meta, as we're still pretty fresh in? We haven't even got to set championship season yet, but there are some competitors that are coming in. This deck is showing some signs of weaknesses. Are there any decks that you're looking out for that can kind of oppose you here?
Honestly, not really. Basically, my biggest fear is playing against the exact build, because if I play against the exact mirror match, I end up basically it becomes like a coin flip, right? I like to express myself with my deck building. And so usually, when you have a deck that's ahead of the meta, that's what I'm usually afraid of. Is like, oh, I hope I don't play against a decent to good player playing the exact 60. I won't. It'll be harder for me to find the edge.
No mirror matches. Okay, I love to see it, man. But overall, what are your thoughts on this set 7 meta? Do you think are you thinking it's tier 0? Do you think this is the best possible deck? Do you think that there is a wide array, or do you think there's more to be determined as this thing goes along in terms of set 7 complete?
So I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek. So tomorrow I'll be releasing set version 4, and I'm currently sitting in the top 10 players on a website and of set 7. And so yeah, I have a new version that I think dominates the previous version and is even more well prepared against the meta. Basically, I think that other color combinations have been like, a lot of people have worked on those color combinations and they've progressed a lot. And blue steel is a color combination that hasn't progressed a lot because it's been one of the weaker colors pretty much every set.
Okay. Blue Steel. I did watch your last episode of the Club Lorcana podcast. You are the host of that podcast on your channel. The link will be down in the description. And you had some very, very mean things to say about the Blue Steel community. I'm not going to lie. You know what I'm saying? I was a little offended.
50%, because that's how much it's been worked on. And that's how much it should be worked on, because it sucked.
Right.
It was terrible. All right. And any person who thinks it was good was delusional.
Because Blue Steel, they're coming. They're going to come after you, dude. They're going to come. You came after the Fishbone Quill Will gang in a major way. Can you just elaborate on those thoughts? Will you issue a full apology here on JDZ Quest, or is that something you're not willing to do? Do you stand on those words? Or are you going to double down right now?
Yeah, no apologies.
I'm here to double down.
No apologies. I think that one of the things I take very seriously is, for example, Amber Steel's songs, I top 4'd in Atlanta. Then right after that, I went to Chicago, where I was one game away from making top 64. But I had published a YouTube video that was saying that Green Steel is the best deck. Right, in that set 4, right? I posted Green Steel Bucky is the best deck, and after when I made that video, I didn't play it. I played Purple Steel in that tournament because I was trying to counter the most popular deck, what ended up winning the tournament. And I look back at that and I say, I played well, but I chose the wrong deck. I should have played the answer that I even knew at the time. And so I think that reflection of like, if you were playing Blue Steel in that tournament, then I feel like you should probably go back and reflect and like think that know that you were wrong, that it
Oh.
wasn't the right choice for that tournament.
Oh my goodness, Zan, you're making some serious enemies out there. The Blue Steel community is going to watch this, and they're going to come after you, man. You got to watch your back. That's a ravenous bunch. I warned you. Hey, he had a chance, Blue Steel crew. Get him. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. This is jokes. This is the whole joke. I think this deck. I have tried this deck before. And to me, on my level, I gotta hit the weight room a little bit. It is a bit complex, it's a bit complicated. You gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And if you are going to try a deck like this, make sure you are maybe get into the Metafire, get into some of these discords, or maybe do some training before you take this thing out, because it is not going to be the easiest deck to use. Are there any tips and tricks you can give to the people watching this right now to maybe get the most out of this deck? But what are some tips for someone taking this to a set champ or trying to win a local tournament playing a deck like this?
Well, I'm gonna say take it to locals and actually work through those mistakes. I think that the best way to get through it is by making the mistakes. And if you make the mistakes, sometimes I'll make mistakes on purpose just to see what the outcome is, right? And if I learn that outcome, then it's like a pattern recognition, and that's something that you can learn from chess. And that's something you apply exactly to Lorcana. It's like sometimes something that looks like a mistake is just a queen sacrifice, you know?
Make sure you guys get into the comment section and let me know what you think about this deck. But we're going to switch gears here again, Zan. And I like to always bring in the community aspect of this game. I want to hear from you. Okay, I get people to come by the show all the time, and I ask them who are their best players, who are their top 5, to make it a little bit more difficult, because there are some incredible players in this game. And most of the time they put you up there in the top 5, maybe even number 1. I don't know if that's something that you wear with a badge of honor, or if that's something that you are, you don't want the spotlight. I don't know how that feels. I would assume it would be honor. How do you feel about that? If everyone regarding you as the best player, or at least the top 3 player in the game?
Well, I try not to internalize it because I haven't won Worlds. If I get the opportunity to win Worlds, then I'd be happy to internalize it. But I try not to internalize it, and I try because, the ego is dangerous.
Yeah.
And so you have to tame it. And so I try not to internalize it, and I take it as a compliment. Ed is the person I've been running into the most. The biggest Lorcana tournament, the first biggest Lorcana tournament, actually happened in Atlanta at a place called DCS, and Ed and I met in the finals there. And before we met in the finals, I was actually undefeated, and I got to draw my last 2 rounds. And so I was watching other players play, and I stood behind Ed, and at the time I didn't know who that was. And he was making exactly the same play I would make for 2 games. And I was like, okay, I haven't stood behind anybody where we would make the same plays. And so I knew before top 8 was even paired that Ed was probably going to be my finals opponent if the bracket fell that way, or I was just going to run into him. And so we met in the finals, and I offered a split, and obviously Ed was like, no.
I love that.
I ended up beating him, like, barely, but I still ended up winning. And yeah, I mean, he flew all the way from San Francisco to attend, and so that gave me a lot of respect for him, and I continued to run into him at DLCs, and then he actually played against Jeremy in top 32 of DLC Dallas, the one that he ended up winning. And I tried to coach Jeremy through it a little bit. Yeah, Ed just cooked my best friend and someone I was coaching, right? And so yeah, it was tough. And so then Ed and I played again in Continentals in the top 4. And basically we knew that whoever won between us would win the finals.
Yeah.
So we were like, this is the finals. So yeah, I mean, Ed ended up beating me there and ended up obviously winning the finals. That wasn't going to really be close. And yeah, so Ed, I would say, is the person I've run into the most. The other slots I would probably give to some of my teammates. I think that DKP definitely stands up there. DKP was someone who wasn't qualified for Worlds, but took the gamble in going to Australia, and then the gamble paid off, and DKP ended up winning. So I definitely got to give slot number 2 to T my teammate. Third, I'm gonna go with Kurt
Okay.
Weiss, another one of my teammates who's qualified for World. I think that majority of his results come from Magic.
Mm-hmm.
He created a deck called Lands, and that's like a really difficult strategy to come up with. And so we just had a I have mutual respect. Like we have mutual friends, and I have respect for him from there. And we ended up playing in Continentals, and that was a really cool match. And I've gotten to know him more and pick his brain, so I'll put him up there as well.
And those are all incredible players. This is the first year of Disney Lorcana. I mean, these names can all fluctuate. I like DKP. I had him by the program as well. He has some incredible things to say. Super switched on player. You guys are all built a little bit different. But I like to end it with a little bit of Spitfire questions, champ. I gotta ask, do you seem very intense, okay? There's an intensity about you when you're playing this game. Do you ever play for fun? I gotta ask. I gotta know. Is there ever a time where you just say, "Hey, I'm gonna chill for a little bit. Let's just have some fun. Let's play this game." Is that something that you do?
I play for Pack Rush.
Pack Rush. That's it. You don't play. You don't play an actual constructed fun. You don't have a fun deck. You don't have a pet deck. No puppies. No nothing.
Yeah, well, I'm always testing everything. So sometimes, I mean, a lot of people would have looked at my Oswald deck and been like, "Oh, that's your pet deck." So oftentimes my decks that end up setting the meta end up looking like pet decks. So I'll play a bunch of strategies, but all of them have the potential.
Okay, so you're not just gonna go hang out and just play for fun. You're not a for fun guy. It's all for real. It's for keeps only.
No. It's for fun.
Oh, come on.
Everything is
okay. Everything is.
everything I would say is for fun, right? It's just that I think that thing I'm thinking about is like I think winning is the most fun thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything is for fun.
I got it. Are you a Disney fan at all? I know you kind of jumped into this game from your professional Magic career. You jumped into Disney, but you got to understand in Disney, there are a lot of people who came for the Disney part, and Disney has this huge IP of movies, which these cards are based. What is your favorite Disney movie, if you have one?
Yeah, it's Mulan.
Mulan, really?
Yeah, not close. Yep.
Why Mulan? I gotta ask why. What's up with Mulan?
I mean, it's just like one of the most inspirational movies before we had like inspirational movies for women. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I mean, Eddie Murphy was insane in that movie.
Oh, pretty high, huh?
Like I love the soundtrack. I mean, it's just an incredible movie. Yeah, that's my number one. I
All
wish Lucia drew cards.
I need you.
Let's see.
I need you to go. I need you to go and cook up this Mulan tribal deck, man. I can see it cooking now. Zan Syed, just send it to me. You don't have to play it. Just cook it and send it my way, and I'll play it. I'll get cooked for you, but I just need to see what the most optimal Mulan tribal deck can be. Okay, I'm gonna throw some cards at you, and then you give me your initial thoughts on what you think about them. If they're good, if they're bad, if they're trash, or whatever, and we'll see what you think. Okay, the first one we're gonna talk about is the new Bell. I gotta hear from you. The Bell, the Inventor, the new 3-drop Bell. Thoughts on this card?
10 out of 10.
Ridiculously broken, probably shouldn't have been printed. I love to see it. What about the Scrooge McDuck? I want to hear some thoughts from you.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Okay, I like that. We're gonna go. The next one is gonna be a card that's a little bit people are kind of cutting it from the deck. Along Came Zeus. What are your thoughts on this steel removal card?
It's a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 on Along Came Zeus. Okay, I didn't expect to see that. Okay, we're getting a little experimental here. We're going off the rails a bit. I want to hear your thoughts on the card Prince John's Mirror. Is it playable? Can it be used?
I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. That's okay. That's better than 0. I can accept that. Accept that.
Is it playable? Yes, in a very niche way and a very niche meta. So it's like in my back pocket. It's just the niche situation is so niche. Like it would need to be like a invitational tournament that I knew that X percentage of players were going to bring this strategy.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, we'll get another. We'll say the Lucky Dime, since that's another card that you've been using this next set.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. You put Lucky Dime under Along Came Zeus. Interesting. Man, I gotta get it. This we need part 2 of the video so I can do a deep dive on that, just to get the analysis on that. Okay, the last card we're going to talk about is going to be actually 2 more cards. We'll do the 2 Tamatoas. What are your thoughts? Which one's better? The big one and the Happy as a Clam. Rate both of those 2 cards.
Well, they just work with each other. I mean, I give both of them 10 out of 10s. Like, I mean, they're insanely good. And the design of them is also really good. I just think that in order to make them fair, you probably got to get rid of Popsicle.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get rid of Popsicle, then all of this stuff becomes fair. And Along Came Zeus's, the reason why I said that was because the design is so amazing. You know what I mean? Before Along Came Zeus came out, that was set 3. And so in set 2, Ember Steel I think was way worse than Red Purple. And when Zeus came out, then it gave Steel a way to deal with threats like Maui. And I think it's just a perfectly designed card. I don't think it's like a 10 out of 10 in the that it's that busted. But Bell is that busted. But again, if Popsicle goes away, I think it's those C's play just in a Fortisphere deck instead of a Popsicle and Fortisphere.
Nice. I love to hear. I think you had some incredible things to say. And all of you at home, I'm certain you're watching this video and you take something away. You can take something away from this. But make sure you get down to the comment section, send some questions, and maybe we can get the champ to come by and answer those questions. But champ, before we let you go, is there any shout outs you want to give before we wrap it up and sign it on off?
Yeah, shout out to the Club Lorcana podcast. It's a podcast that we do every week, usually posted on Wednesday. Yeah, if you like what I had to say or dislike what I had to say, come fight me on it.
Absolutely. And also, guys, I'll put the link to Zan's Metafy down in the description. Go ahead and check it out. And I'm certain he's going to keep updating. I love the new mulligan guy he just added to it, and the building process of how you're continuing to change the strategy. And I want to see where it ends up at the end of set 7. So I love it, and make sure you guys go check it out if you want to see that too. Well, champ, that's all we have at this time. Thank you so much for dropping by and being a part of the show. I do appreciate it. But for you at home, as always, I'm JDZ. I'm on the quest. Until the next time, shout out to the real ones. Salute to the OGs. Peace.